All of these people are at Willowbrook Mall running errands. The parking lots are full of people coming and going. All of these people have no idea the evil that is just walking among them.
A spree killer is multiple killings without a cooling off period, where a serial killer usually has a cooling off period of some days or weeks before they do this again.
Saturday, July 14, 2018.
It was extremely urgent.
Houston, 911, need medical, police, or fire?
Yeah, I think I found a dead body. I need to get somebody down here quick.
3 bodies.
Man picking seemingly random victims.
The worst nightmare is slapping you in the face.
I said, somebody killed my sister. And I just went to the floor.
One guy.
This individual is to be considered armed and dangerous.
MO's the same.
This is obvious that now this is not isolated.
Motive appears to be robbery in a lot of cases.
We really need the public's help.
This guy, within the span of about 4 days, seems to have lost his mind. And I think it's a matter of time before the 4th victim. We just had to find him and get it stopped.
This was very unique. This is the first time that it's happened in my career, and I've been with the DA's office almost 20 years. And it was also a very scary situation because we felt like we had to figure out who this guy was as quickly as possible.
An intense manhunt.
We have his picture, his name, and the car he might be traveling in.
We had to find this guy because we just knew that it wasn't going to stop.
It was eye-opening for me. You know, I hadn't seen that level of evil at the time.
I mean, looking at his picture and his eyes look dead.
It shows you what some people are capable of.
He's got a dead soul.
For 10 days in July 2018, a Texas parolee terrorized the city of Houston. He left a trail of victims, both young and old, when he was supposed to be under state supervision. Jose Rodriguez's rampage exposed cracks in the criminal justice system and forever changed families. And the manhunt for him was a race against time. Many of his movements documented on video, the evidence against him, some never before seen until now. I'm Jessica Willey, and this is Texas True Crime, the Mattress Murders.
So it's kind of a big, long story, but to make it as short as possible, the plan was for me to come from Missouri to come down and pick her up, and we were going to go up together to our brother's house. And for this reunion that she was kind of taking the lead on, she had bought sausage, she had the beautiful paper plates and the fancy napkins, and it was going to be really nice.
In July 2018, Pamela Johnson was deep in planning a big family reunion in East Texas.
All piled up by the door. Oh, and I got this, and I got this. And
all ready to go.
Yeah, all ready to go.
The occasion to coincide with what would have been the 100th birthday of her late mother.
And she was so excited about it. She had taken off the whole week of work prior to the reunion so she could make all the last-minute arrangements.
The siblings arranged who was driving home to the small town of Mount Enterprise. Pam's house was the stopover point.
We were going to stay that night there at Pam's place.
And that's why it was strange when all of their phone calls to Pam went unanswered.
I got a call from him saying, "Hey, do you know where Pam is? I've been trying to call her for 2 days." And I said, "I've been trying to call her for 2 days too."
The 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock.
Sidney Arnold, the oldest of the 6 siblings, got to Pam's home northwest of Houston first.
Knocked on the door, no response. Went all around the house, couldn't find a good way in. The house is secured. And then I called my brother. We found a place where the kitchen window had been jimmied in the past, and pried it open, and we found a way we got him in, and he went in and found her laying in her bed.
At that time, what are you thinking?
What happened? You know, your worst nightmare is slapping you in the face.
Harris County 911, what is the address of the emergency?
My neighbor has apparently, there's a problem at my neighbor's house. Some family members of my neighbor have shown up, and she was expecting them. They could not locate her, so we gained entry through the kitchen window. Her purse and stuff is thrown out on the floor, and she's in the bed. It appears to have a pillow over her face.
Okay, is she breathing?
I haven't looked at her that close.
A woman has been found dead inside of a home.
Yeah, Gina, we just got some new information, and let me go ahead and show you the scene behind me.
62-year-old Pam Johnson was a widow who lived alone. Born into a big family and raised in the country, she was hearing impaired since she was a baby, facing all of the challenges her siblings say that came with her disability.
She was different. And, you know, and the fact that she didn't hear well affected her speech a little bit. So people kind of thought, well, she must be dumb, stupid. And she was not stupid at all. She was not stupid. But it just took her a little longer to make things happen in life.
At 22, Pam moved to the big city, Houston, despite her mother's fears.
My mom, I wish she wouldn't move to Houston. That's such a dangerous town.
She got married to her beloved George in her 30s, and they eventually lived in the home on Bent Pine Drive. After George's death, she would sit outside and read the Bible, and she was always reliable at her job as a shelf stocker at Kroger, where she worked for more than 2 decades.
She didn't see herself as handicapped. She saw herself as she had a lot of trials. But if I see myself as handicapped, then I'm going to settle for being handicapped. If I overcome these trials, I'm just going to be a stronger person. So that's the way her attitude was, or the way she conducted herself.
In 2018, the last time anyone saw Pam was Tuesday, July 10th. Her brothers found her dead in her bedroom, her home in disarray, on Friday, July 13th.
This is a very active scene, active investigation. Investigators are working on more information.
Several things were very problematic to me. Where she was found and how she was found. On the bed, her hands were bound to the headboard. She had sustained a gunshot to the chest, and then pillows were placed over those wounds. And her car was missing.
Harris County Sheriff's Office Homicide Detective David Crane was on call that weekend.
My supervisor, Sergeant Bell, came in and told us that we had a murder in District 5 out off Jones Road, and that I was going to be the lead and start heading that way.
We're told it was in the driveway.
And his first lead was Pam's missing vehicle.
Don't know exactly how long it was there for or when it was last seen.
A maroon PT Cruiser.
How important was it to find the car?
Well, the car is key at this point. We just have to have it.
This woman's car was taken from her driveway. It's a 2004 PT Cruiser.
In July 2018, 62-year-old Pam Johnson took a week off from Kroger, where she worked for more than 2 decades, to prepare for a much-anticipated family reunion.
She was taking the lead on the planning.
But before it even started, what was supposed to be a celebratory occasion turned somber.
I remember yelling, I said, somebody killed my sister, and I just went to the floor.
She was discovered on Friday evening around 6. I think the more accurate time of her death was going to be around 10:30 to noon on Wednesday, 2 days earlier.
Harris County Sheriff's Office Detective David Crane believes the killer climbed on top of a tree stump to break in through the kitchen window and was already inside when Pam arrived home. Her vehicle was captured on security video entering the garage at 12:19 Wednesday afternoon. She never left her home again.
I love my sister very much. I miss her a lot.
Pam died from one gunshot wound to the chest. No bullet casings were found at the crime scene. The killer took her vehicle, and the search for it was on.
It was released to the media that night, as well as a BOLO, or be on the lookout for, notification was sent to all area law enforcement.
We are only about 4 miles away from the home.
The next night, a tip caller reported seeing Pam's vehicle parked in the parking lot of nearby Willowbrook Mall, where just across the street, 4 hours earlier, the body of 28-year-old Allie Barrow was found inside the mattress store where she worked.
Houston 911, you medical police or fire?
Yeah, I think I found a dead body. I need to get somebody down here quick.
Customers had come in to the store looking for service and thought it was strange that they weren't greeted by an employee or anything. And so that customer then went to another nearby Mattress Firm store and told that employee, hey, I just went to this other store and didn't see any employees. And they thought it was strange. And so then that's what triggered the manager going to Allie's store.
In 2018, John Stroble was just a year into his assignment with the Houston Police Department Homicide Division.
I was on evening shift at the time.
It was only his 6th homicide case, and it was going to be a big one.
This is scary because I was here. It's close by us, you know.
Allie Barrow had a history degree and then went to beauty school. She was working for a mattress firm, the same company as her fiancé. She arrived at the store around 11 a.m. that morning.
I came that way. Her car was not there because I remember I looked inside wondering who was there.
That evening, her body was found in the back of the store between 2 mattresses. She suffered a gunshot wound to the head. And even though the scene was just across the street from where Pam Johnson's vehicle was left, it was in a different jurisdiction, the city of Houston. Unbeknownst to the detectives, patterns were emerging. For instance, there were no bullet casings left behind.
Either the suspect took the care to pick up the fired casing or a revolver was used.
And Allie's car was missing too.
Anytime we're working a murder and you always want to think about what evidence may have been left behind by the suspect or what evidence could have been taken from the suspect leaving the scene. And so once we determined that her vehicle was missing, that was going to become a primary lead.
A quiet moment as the crime scene was being processed that night gave Detective Stroble some clarity.
I found a news story about the county case and that victim's car had been dumped at the Willowbrook Mall, which was just across the street from where our scene was at. So that sparked my interest.
Meantime, Detective Crane and his agency were recovering video from the mall, hoping the killer was caught on camera somewhere as he abandoned Pam Johnson's car. What they recovered would be the first time they saw the suspect. In the moments that followed, he took precautions, but also provided clues.
So the suspect parked the car and immediately exits and walks away from the car. And he's kind of looking away. He goes back to the car and spends about 2 minutes wiping down the car. And after he wipes the car down for a period of time, then he leaves the car and he walks actually into the mall. And we start picking him up on camera through the mall. From one entry door all the way through to the entry door on the west side of the mall to his point of exit. He never stopped, never shopped. He went in the mall through one door and then out through the other side of the mall. There was something about him that caught my attention, and that is he took his hat off. And if you've been in any mall lately, everyone that's in the mall that has a baseball cap usually has it on their head. And he took his off, and he carried it in his hand from the time he came into the store until he exited the store, going out the other direction. And I found that strange. And it's, in my experience, it's only one of 2 things, and it's either military or it's institutionalized. Someone in the penitentiary, because they're not allowed to wear their hats indoors either. So I'm leaning towards institutionalized, but I get great pictures of him. Really good close-ups. You see he's got tattoos all over his head. We're getting somewhere now.
And you released those still images from that video?
Not yet, because things were happening. Things started happening at a really fast pace.
As the city of Houston woke up that Sunday morning, detectives from 2 agencies, the Houston Police Department and the Harris County Sheriff's Office, were comparing notes.
No such thing as a coincidence.
Right. Yeah, it was so close. And at the time, our victim, Allie's car, had been taken as part of our case.
And that murder occurred within about 20 minutes of the suspect leaving the view of the cameras from the mall and kind of disappearing into the traffic. 20 minutes later, a female is killed at the store across the freeway.
In between, detectives learned of 2 other incidents in Pam Johnson's neighborhood that happened before her body was found. A woman reported a suspicious person who came to her house twice, and an 87-year-old man was tied up, his vehicle taken by a suspect armed with a revolver. And it was that victim's vehicle that would lead to the killer's identity, but not before there were more victims.
We started to realize that the bodies were stacking up and in a very quick amount of time. And so we had to find this guy because we just knew that it wasn't going to stop.
We read crime scene tape there sealing off the entrance.
Between the murders of Pam Johnson, a 62-year-old widow tied up and shot to death in her home.
She was very loving and caring. She wouldn't miss a birthday.
The young woman in question
and 28-year-old Allie Barrow, killed at the store where she worked.
Such a bright future and beautiful smile and just exudes happiness.
Detectives learned of 2 more incidents in Pam Johnson's neighborhood that they believed were linked to the killer. A person described as Hispanic and skinny in a baseball cap with tattoos on his arms, who went to a woman's house twice, claiming he was looking for an old friend. Surveillance video from the neighborhood captured him walking around.
She still was so unnerved by it, she wrote the license plate down.
And a home invasion during which the suspect, also Hispanic, had a revolver, used zip ties to restrain an 87-year-old man, and took his vehicle, a white Honda Pilot. The descriptions from both similar to the man caught on camera after dumping Pam Johnson's car at the mall. After the Honda Pilot was recovered and detectives connected the 2 crimes, the man's home invasion and Pam's murder, the vehicles were processed together.
Identifying this guy is going to be key to solving Ms. Johnson's murder.
As the public got its first glimpse at the suspect,
he's identifiable by this video.
When the Harris County Sheriff's Office released images from the mall security video,
David Crane reached out.
Prosecutor Samantha Knecht,
we work really closely with homicide detectives on the front end of investigations,
was being updated on the case every step of the way.
I did think it was eerie when you watched the Willowbrook Mall footage. All of these people are at Willowbrook Mall running errands, doing shopping, and they have no idea that there's a killer amongst them.
3 hours after investigators went public with the footage of the suspect walking around the mall, another development.
The crime scene investigator obtained a latent fingerprint that lined everything up for us.
Not from Pam's car. Remember, the suspect wiped it down, but from the driver's side door of the white Honda Pilot, the vehicle taken in the home invasion. Now, the man on the video had a name.
And that connected the suspect to Jose Gilberto Rodriguez. And then when I obtained his most recent driver's license photograph, there's no mistaking. That's who walked into the mall. That's who got out of her vehicle. And that's who the witness who had him come to her house on Monday, had her come to her house again on Wednesday. It's all the same guy.
Jose Gilberto Rodriguez was a 46-year-old registered sex offender who spent 27 years in prison for sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl and for an unrelated burglary. While in prison, he received an additional 10-year sentence for possession of a deadly weapon inside a penitentiary. Turns out investigators were right on track with the suspect's profile.
Because they're not allowed to wear their hats indoors.
If removing his hat while entering the mall was one clue that their suspect had spent time in prison, the trouble he had starting the Honda Pilot in order to steal it from his 87-year-old victim was a telltale sign.
He tried to drive this Honda Pilot away, and couldn't start it. And he's demanding the keys. And he's explaining to him the key fob is the key. And it kind of goes back to the fact he's been incarcerated so long. When he went to prison, cars all had keys.
Rodriguez got out of prison on parole in September 2017 under mandatory release. He was required to work, check in with the parole officer, and wear an ankle monitor that tracked everywhere he went. 6 days before Pam Johnson was found murdered, police said he cut it off. And what followed was a violent and rapid crime spree.
This guy has to be found. He has to be found sooner rather than later.
After Rodriguez went off the grid, detectives say he broke into a house in Pam Johnson's neighborhood and stole a revolver. Surveillance cameras caught him at ATMs, police say, pawning phones he had stolen. And he was traced back to pawn shops where they say he cashed in on televisions and jewelry that he took from Pam's house after her death.
I'm pretty sure he lived in her house for several days after.
After Ali Barrow was killed, Rodriguez was captured on surveillance video at a gas station. Police say he was using her ATM card, making 2 withdrawals after 3 attempts, and they say he spent at least 1 night in a motel with a female companion.
He's funding his life off burglaries and robberies.
At 3:20 a.m. Monday, July 16th, with 2 murders behind him, motel surveillance video captured him leaving on foot. 20 minutes later, surveillance video at a gas station caught him on camera. He seemed to be skulking in the parking lot, looking for his next victim.
The bus driver was apparently off the bus at a convenience store, and he approached him as he was going back to the bus.
Video shows the 22-year-old Metro Lyft driver run to the front door where he collapsed from a gunshot wound to the torso. He survived and later identified the shooter as Rodriguez. Then, that afternoon, as Houston Police and Sheriff's Office investigators were meeting in person to discuss the cases, the unthinkable.
We were methodically going through the evidence, and now all of a sudden, as we're sitting there talking through it all, the suspect is taking another life.
That's kind of the moment where you go, dang, we're just 24 hours removed from the last one, and now we have another one. We've got to get in front of this however we can.
Houston 911, do you need medical, police, or fire?
I need medical. I just came in here and there's a gentleman on the floor in the back of the store and he's bleeding.
We begin this evening with a murder at a Mattress One store off the North Freeway.
Across town from the locations of the previous 2 murders, but near where the bus driver was shot.
These are the murders we're talking about.
And the motel where Rodriguez had checked in.
There's been 3 incidents.
A 3rd murder, and of all places, another mattress store.
What are the chances that there are 2 murders in 2 mattress stores?
Yeah, like I said, I feel like the suspect may have looked for a vulnerable target, and once he realized that a business with a single employee was a easier target, that he kind of just repeated the same MO again.
Around 2:30 in the afternoon, a customer found the body of 57-year-old Edward Magana, a husband, father, and grandfather.
Homicide squads from 2 departments.
He was in the back of the store, lying on the floor with a single gunshot wound to the head.
There was a vehicle taken, and I wanted to see if you guys can help us with that.
His Nissan Sentra was gone. He was working alone, listening, his computer showed, to classic rock.
Well, my dad liked music, and he liked classic rock a lot.
His son Raul Magana says that's how his father passed the time.
I get to listen to my music.
And he remembers the 2 of them listening to music and their talks on the porch.
And I would just sit next to him. I'm like, hey, Dad. And that's how we would catch up every day.
Edward Magana had a family and worked hard, teaching English to Spanish speakers and driving for rideshare companies to keep him busy. He and Raul's mother never married, but they were together for 3 decades. He had 4 children.
He was happy with it when he was around family.
Raul says his father only recently started working at this Mattress One location, and it was supposed to be temporary. They needed someone who could help their Spanish-speaking customers. That day, the shopping center was busy with people walking by the front door.
Someone has to recognize this man.
Raul recalls that his father was following the news of the violent crime spree. Video recovered from security cameras showed a familiar sight. An hour and 45 minutes earlier, at 12:47 p.m., Rodriguez walks out, gets into Edward's car, and leaves.
So now we're looking for a gray Nissan Sentra.
If they see this person that we're about to discuss,
By 6 p.m. at a joint press conference, law enforcement had an urgent message.
this person should be considered armed and extremely dangerous.
3 bodies, 1 guy, MO's the same, and this guy within the span of about 4 days seems to have lost his mind. And I think it's a matter of time before the 4th victim.
3 killed so far.
Were you concerned that somebody else would be killed?
Yeah, the thought's always in the back of your mind.
This is a joint command.
In the hours that followed, police command staff manned tip lines at Houston Police Headquarters, and patrol cars flooded the areas where investigators say Rodriguez had been and even returned to.
This is one of the houses that he first knocked on, left, and then came back and knocked on it the second time.
This back and forth to specific parts of the city baffled investigators.
I've never seen it happen before. You know, some people get, I think your property crime people get greedy. You know, they hit a store and it was pretty soft, and then they'll go back to it again. But things like murder and stuff, people don't come back to the scene. They just don't.
Was Rodriguez on the northwest side near Pam Johnson's house, or closer to downtown Houston, where Edward Magana was killed? In a metro area of nearly 8 million people, he could be anywhere. The police chief appealed for the public's help.
I know we all have the rings and all these other things. Start reviewing your video to see if this guy's been coming to your door.
It was all hands on deck, everybody. I mean, we had people from all different shifts just constantly calling with tips to help make sure that we had all the information we needed to move the case forward.
By daybreak, the tip they needed.
I saw someone walking down there.
A call about a suspicious person on foot back close to where it all began.
Come on. This gate was open yesterday.
Deputies and a canine searched backyards and outbuildings. Then a second call from a person who reported seeing Edward's stolen Nissan on the move. When deputies tried to initiate a traffic stop, the car took off.
We were covering these mattress door crimes. Police say we all have a reason to be concerned at this hour.
KTRK reporter Jeff Ealing remembers they were in the 6 a.m. morning news hour.
We had the suspect vehicle description. We were setting up to go live. I turned around and here comes a vehicle down the road right behind me, and it looked exactly like the suspect vehicle information, and not too far behind it was a law enforcement vehicle. And I turned to Jesus and I say, hey, I think that was the car. And he looked right at me and he says, yeah, I think that was the car too.
Never before seen dash cam video shows the suspect vehicle leading officers through neighborhoods at speeds as fast as 85 miles an hour. The driver blowing through intersections and twice hitting dirt roads along the bayou.
So I pulled out the phone and I'm recording us. What happened to develop into a police chase. We were in the police chase. I'm showing the law enforcement cars in front of us. There were 2 or 3 at this point, more coming all the time. And then in the distance, you could see the suspect vehicle. We made a right-hand turn, and there were 3 or 4 police cars in front of us, and all of a sudden they stopped because the suspect's vehicle had made a U-turn, and he came right past us. And I remember to this day, he looked right at us.
The chase lasted 15 minutes, terminating when the car was blocked in. At the time, Jose Rodriguez was Houston's most wanted man, accused of multiple murders. Deputies were ready for anything.
I was expecting that he would shoot it out with us.
With guns pointed at him from every direction, Rodriguez chose to give up, signaling surrender with his arms out the window. He was searched and handcuffed. The media moved in.
I assessed the situation. It looked safe. They had the guy in custody. So I just started walking closer and closer and closer. And at some point, an officer said,
Step back. Step back. Y'all step back.
hey, you can't be over here. You got to back up. And then, of course, we backed up at that point. But it was the most incredible situation to be part of.
I remember that day that the suspect was caught.
Hell of a job. Hell of a job.
That I was so thankful for the deputies and the constable's deputies and everybody that was, it was literally all the agencies in the greater Houston area were focused on catching the suspect to make sure that he was held responsible.
Relief rippled throughout the city.
He committed 3 murders and terrorized Houston.
For the families of his victims.
Why? Why would you do that to this elderly woman?
Okay, well, see in that corner. There you go.
Detectives hope to get some answers as a bold pre-shift prediction was revealed.
So when I left my house last night before the shift, I told my wife, I'm gonna catch him.
After a peaceful end to a dramatic car chase, Jose Rodriguez was taken to the Harris County Detectives Bureau, flanked by deputies and investigators. The man accused of multiple murders was in custody.
We expect both the police chief and the sheriff.
Later, at a media briefing at Houston Police Headquarters, the police chief made it official.
The suspect was taken into custody this morning.
Tips from the public helped lead to his arrest.
People were very on edge about this.
Houston's most wanted man was captured, proving one deputy's prediction true.
I told my wife, I'm gonna catch him.
In fact, Deputy Jorge Reyes was in the thick of the chase. On scene, body-worn camera video captured that comment.
First thing I told my wife when I exit, I'm gonna go find him.
Jose Rodriguez was arrested for a parole violation, but he was the only suspect in the murders of Pam Johnson, Ali Barrow, and Edward Magana.
They were completely innocent, and I think that's what broke our heart over this case.
Okay, well, see in that corner. There you go.
Rodriguez was taken to an interview room
I'm just trying to understand.
where Detective David Crane and his partner tried to persuade him to talk. They could barely get him to respond.
You want to know what's going to happen next? Do you care what's going to happen next? Not really.
I mean, he was as hard as this table, and there was not going to be any, all the interview wizardry was not going to turn him around and go, I think I'll talk to this guy. It just wasn't going to work.
Did something happen over at the room house that caused you to cut your monitor?
Rodriguez spent hours in that room and said very little. They took his clothes as evidence. Photographs revealed prison tattoos all over his body, from his legs to the crown of his head. Meantime, at the scene of the arrest, a revolver that police say was stolen in a burglary in the early days of the crime spree was found in the car where Rodriguez gave up without a fight. Surprisingly, it was within his reach and still had one bullet left. It was believed to be the murder weapon and later confirmed when Ali Barrow's DNA was recovered from it. Rodriguez was charged with capital murder. He would make his first court appearance that night. As Detective Crane drove him to the jail, he took one more shot at getting answers.
I did ask him, even acknowledging the fact that he had asked for a lawyer. I told him, I understand. But from a humanistic standpoint, the families just want to know why. I have no doubt that I have the right guy, but the families would like to know, why did you have to kill him? And he told me in my travel to the jail is, ask me after my trial and I'll tell you. So, okay, fair enough.
That was the last conversation they would have until 2023, and so much would happen in those 5 years.
It had been COVID. We had all kinds of things happen in Houston with water events and freeze events and those type of things.
Clearly, I knew that it was, one, going to take a substantial amount of time, and it was going to be a long period of time. It wasn't something that was going to happen overnight.
In July 2018, the actions of Jose Rodriguez, a registered sex offender on parole under mandatory release, raised questions about who was really watching parolees. According to the Texas Board of Pardons and Parole, on July 5th, officials received an alert that Rodriguez had tampered with the strap of his GPS ankle monitor. Sure enough, he had cut it off. What followed was a violent crime spree so unique that detectives learned a new term.
A spree killer, as I was schooled on that, is multiple killings without a cooling off period, where a serial killer usually has a cooling off period of some days or weeks before they do this again.
It was a very unique situation, and it was also a very scary situation because we felt like we had to figure out who this guy was as quickly as possible.
Investigators linked him to 1 burglary, 1 home invasion, 1 attempted murder, and 3 murders. The deceased victims, Pam Johnson, a widow, Allie Barrow, a young woman engaged to be married, and Edward Magana, a father who hoped to retire soon.
I don't wish this on anybody. It changes your life in a second.
Rodriguez had spent 27 years in prison. When he got out in September of 2017, he lived in Dallas for 3 months. Then the state moved him to Houston to this transitional living facility. And then he moved here, another halfway house, but with individual rooms. He continued to check in with his parole officer, officials said. He worked and he passed a drug test. When the tamper alert on his ankle monitor was triggered, a few days later, a warrant was issued for his arrest, but no one picked him up.
There's not enough law enforcement officers that are focusing on parolees, violating parolees.
Houston Police Chief R. Acevedo was frustrated.
We want to roll out the unwelcome map for parolees. They need to know that in Harris County, in the city of Houston, and in all the cities in our county, that it is not a county that's going to play. We're done.
He vowed to funnel resources toward parole violators.
In most cases, these people are involved in new crimes, new criminal offenses.
By that November, a task force was created to execute warrants for delinquent parolees, and the chief touted more than 150 arrests.
And I think it highlighted the need for us to have more oversight when there's electronic monitoring.
In 2023, tampering with an ankle monitor became a crime in Texas, where previously it was just an administrative violation.
I think that there's always an opportunity when things like this happen to look back and see what gaps in our systems we can fix, we can fill, we can, modify, and I think that's what we've done as a community, is create legislation that says if you do certain things like cut off your ankle monitor, right, there is a process that we go through that is very clear, very straightforward, and is not subjective to people who monitor or people who have oversight. So in this case, the decision had been determined that we were going to seek death.
That year, prosecutors Mary McFadden and Samantha Knecht were preparing for trial. The court system was finally moving again after the COVID-19 pandemic, and the courthouse had fully recovered from flooding brought on by Hurricane Harvey, a storm that devastated the Houston area. For 5 years, Jose Rodriguez called the Harris County Jail home. He would be in and out of court for routine hearings. Anthony Osso, a veteran lawyer who has defended hundreds of murder suspects.
Every time you have a client who's charged with multiple capital murders, it's a uphill battle.
Was his lead attorney.
We, as a team, met him. He was, and I'm not defending the man in any way, I'm just telling you how it is. He was the most respectful client that I ever had, which totally baffled me. I mean, I left my first encounter with him, and we walked out of the jail, and we looked at one another and said, how does a guy like that end up in a situation like this? I mean, I was blown away by it. He was, yes, sir, no, sir, polite. He was calm. He, and very, matter of fact. And we looked at one another, the whole team, and we go, finally, as difficult as these cases are going to be, at least we have a client that will listen to us and that will respect us, because you don't get a whole lot of respect in this profession from your clients.
He says from the beginning he floated the idea of a plea deal.
They kind of laughed it off and just, Anthony's being Anthony. But I was always optimistic about negotiating a deal.
From the defense perspective, the evidence was overwhelming, and they had one goal.
You had video footage of Jose using one of the victim's cars. You had DNA evidence. You had fingerprints. So we were focusing more on how do we keep Jose off death row.
The prosecution identified their own weaknesses, chief among them, no eyewitnesses.
So with Edward, for instance, we know he went in, we know he went out, he's got the keys, he's found in the car. We know the gun that's recovered is consistent with what's used because there are no spent cartridges or anything like that recovered. We know there's DNA found within the barrel of that gun for one of his other victims. And so we've got pieces of the puzzle, but jury trials are never a sure thing.
And in capital murder trials, when seeking death if convicted, the state is required to prove the defendant poses a future danger, even if it's in a prison population.
We became concerned because every document that we had from prison from about 1995 on showed that he was a model prisoner. And then we began meeting with detention officers over at the Harris County Jail, and they were using phrases like model prisoner, model inmate. And so we were really concerned about whether or not we'd be able to prove that future danger aspect. And so that's when we started to really start to talk about maybe working this case out. As we were meeting with witnesses.
Just before Christmas 2023, prosecutors and Jose Rodriguez's defense team were preparing for a capital murder trial.
We had a history of good behavior.
A trial that could be problematic.
Early on, it's easy to be, this is a terrible guy, let's seek death. But as you dig down, you have to take the emotion out and you have to look at admissible evidence and what the jury will actually see.
Rodriguez's attorney, Anthony Osso, again tried for a plea deal.
So he came back to us again and said, hey, my guy will take life without parole and he'll plead on all of the cases and you can stack them.
So on December 19th, 2023, trial preparation ended. 5.5 years after his killing spree, Jose Rodriguez pleaded guilty to 3 murders and 2 aggravated robberies, accepting 5 life sentences to run consecutively, not concurrently, meaning no overlap. It was with no possibility of parole and no appeals.
That means he's got to complete 1 life without parole before he starts the next one, before the next one. You never get out.
We felt like this is a good conclusion because we aren't going to have to go back to the families 10, 15 years from now and say, hey, we're doing this again, we got to try it again, only now we're missing witnesses, or maybe there's something that we don't have that we had in the first trial. And so this was just a guaranteed conviction that's not appealable, and we know where he'll be for the rest of his life.
Prosecutors say there was agreement among the victims' families to accept the guilty plea.
I'm okay with the outcome as far as like him being life in prison. I'm okay with that, and I can make my peace with that.
It kind of makes you feel a little bit
today.
Well, very, very disappointed.
There is some regret that Jose Rodriguez didn't have to stand trial.
I would have liked to have known evidence, what they actually had. Did she say anything to him? Did she not? Did she plead for her life? You try to create a scenario in your mind that makes sense. What was her last moment on earth like? And while I was busy going about my stuff, what was my sister doing?
I would like to look at him face to face and say, you are a no good, lousy, rotten fool that is a mooch to society. I cannot believe that somebody would go and take that many lives and still be breathing and living.
Rodriguez is housed at the sprawling Cofield unit, 3 hours north of Houston in East Texas. Located on 20,000 acres, it is the state's largest prison.
He just told me, after my trial, come ask me and I'll tell you.
Before Rodriguez left Harris County to become a permanent prison resident, Detective David Crane took him up on his offer.
And I just asked him, well, why? You know, why did we have to kill him? And he told me after his conviction and prior to transfer that the jail is where he feels comfortable. They tell him when to get up, they tell him when to go to bed, they tell him what to wear, they tell him what to eat. He has to have that structure.
An explanation that comes with mixed emotion.
I'm like, that kind of puts things, wow, that's an interesting bit of it. Yeah, that's first I've heard of it. Well, yeah, and it's such a shame that so many people had to pay the price just because he wasn't able to live as a free person.
Not my problem. And it certainly wasn't Pam's.
He has no conscience or no qualms at destroying the families of all these people because he's having a hard time living outside. I'm having a hard time right now. Does that give me the right to go terrorize somebody?
No reason would be adequate. The pain of losing a sister, a daughter, or a father still comes in waves.
I wish you could see how we've grown. I never got a chance to talk to him as an adult and like just share things, you know, father to father.
He is
only comforted by knowing their killer,
he's got a dead soul,
will live out his days behind prison walls.
I think these incidents and this chain of incidents just shows a total disregard for humanity, and it really is evil. And as a young detective at the time, you know, it was eye-opening for me. You know, I hadn't seen that level of evil at the time.
You know, do we get justice for Pamela Johnson and Allie Barrow and Mr. Magana? You know, I don't know. We did the best we could. We found him as fast as we could. I wish we could have stopped him sooner.